Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Ravi Gupta. I'm editor-in-chief of a magazine called Banking and Finance Post, and also the CEO and founder of Elets Technomedia Private Limited. I hope you all are safe and keeping a social distance to maintain this COVID-19 situation from going worse. So I hope you all are safe. And we are going to have an interesting discussion today. The topic of the discussion is effectively rejuvenating NBFCs with network refresh. And our panelists today are Renzil Dsouza. He is the General Manager Network Solutions for Huawei Telecom India. Welcome, Renzil.
Good evening. Hello.
Hi. And we have Mr. Raman Agrawal, who is the co-chairman of the Finance Industry Development Council, FIDC. Welcome, Ramanji. Thanks for
joining. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And today we are going to discuss the situation. The focus has again gone back on digital when there is a COVID-19 situation. There is a huge digital disruption going on. The adoption of digital technologies is growing manifold in these situations. In fact, one of the statements by an industry leader in IT was that we have seen the disruption which happens in the 5 years. It has happened in 2 months of COVID-19. So that is the level of digital usage which has grown exponentially, and all organizations, including the NBFCs, are realizing that they have to invest in their IT infrastructure in a much more bigger way and look at infrastructure, the IT infrastructure upgradation more seriously. And in this context, I will start the discussion today with asking Mr. Raman Agrawal about the what has been the impact on usage of digital in the NBFC sector because of the COVID situation. Ramanji.
So thank you, Ravi. Well, I think the context is absolutely right. As we all know, disruption has been the buzzword for quite some time. But as you rightly put it, the disruption which nature or system brings it is much quicker or much blunt than what we could plan. And as this happened, a few microns were sized virus has a global disruption to the extent that we are seeing structural changes being talked about, structural changes being discussed and discussed in all businesses across the board. And NBFCs is no different. As a very important part of the lending fraternity, as a very important component of delivering credit in India, I think NBFCs have always been forthcoming when it comes to adoption of technology, adopting the changes which come in. And as you rightly put it, this COVID situation has created the biggest change is from the whole concept of work from home. Now, the moment you talk of work from home, the first thing technology, basic technology you need is a stable, reliable, and decently quick internet facility. I think that is the first basic requirement which is amply required across the country, because sitting at home, what you need is to be networked and connected with your colleagues, with your customers, with your investors, with your stakeholders, the regulators, policymakers, and that's what we've been doing for the last 2 months now. So I think that is where, as I said, while NBFCs never were averse to adopting technology, but with this sudden change coming in, there is certainly going to be a major rethink and a major change brought in terms of, I would say, augmenting the use of technology. Whether it's like, I think I would put sourcing new customers last. Currently would be more in the context of re-establishing contact with my existing borrowers, or trying to present or have control over my financials sitting at home, or talking to my investors, and at the same time putting forward my concerns and issues before the regulators and policymakers, all through the digital means, majority of which we might have been doing otherwise. So I think prima facie, this is the first major thing which will happen. Going ahead, of course, things were already in the phase, things like we are talking of alternate credit scoring models and all that. But I think immediate COVID related impact is this what I talked about. So I think that is the first major thing.
Sure. So I'm requesting Mr. Renzil Dsouza from Huawei to present, which is goes into the specifics of the digital adoption. Renzil,
Yeah.
please.
Thanks, Ravi. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So thanks, Ravi. Thanks, Raman. Uh, so we'll be stressing especially this part. What we just dwelt upon. How do we design today's networks, keeping in mind the current COVID situation? How do we help to design a reliable, stable network? What are some technological advantages that Huawei would bring to the table that could really help you achieve this goal of as I said, goal of a reliable technology for accessing your applications, as well as really giving you that edge over a competition also. So let me start. Let me introduce myself again. My name is Renzil Dsouza, and I'm the general manager for Huawei Enterprise. Okay. So today I'll be talking to you about one key technology that would actually help you to build this reliable platform for which will help you in your digitization, and that is would be related to Wi-Fi. So there was an old saying that Wi-Fi was a good to have technology in the start. I would say in the earlier days, and then it came that okay, you could have Wi-Fi, maybe 20% of your wireless you could still have a Wi-Fi network, and kind of 80% would still be wired. But today we are in a position where today we could help you build a network which could be 100% wireless, giving you the same reliability, giving you the same bandwidth, giving you the same latencies on that network, which ideally you would not, even think of in your, in the earlier days, where you had Wi-Fi 5. But how do you build such a network today is something that I will, talk about. All right. So before going that, I'll talk about some of the challenges that you would face in your current network today, especially on your wireless network. Like today, a lot of times, when we think about throughput of a Wi-Fi access point, whatever might be the throughput, if it is X, the actual bandwidth that you would get on that access point would only be 10%. Those are some scary facts that are there. We really never get the real throughput on a wireless network. I'm talking about a Wi-Fi 5 network. That was the first challenge. Another challenge was today, and probably that was a reason, as I said in my earlier slides, we always built networks or rather a Wi-Fi network was just complementing a wired network. A primary network was always a wired network. But today, we can really think about having a complete Wi-Fi network with Wi-Fi 6. Okay. The second challenge was, today we are really talking about a convergence. We are talking about a single network infrastructure that can have your surveillance traffic, that could have your, your building management traffic on the same infrastructure. We are doing it with wire today, and Wi-Fi 6 would actually give you that, that advantage where you could build a similar network. we'll talk about that. So that was another kind of a challenge. And the third major challenge that we had in our existing networks today was that we never had a proper management tool that could troubleshoot and pinpoint the source where was the problem in the network. We didn't have a tool which could actually optimize your wired and your wireless infrastructure. So these were the main three challenges why wired or wireless network did not really meet our current requirements for digitization, if I'll put it like that. Okay. So now what is really the solution that Huawei has for NBFCs that can really, look at, having a Wi-Fi network meeting all those challenges and giving you that higher bandwidth, higher throughput, and higher, much better latencies. So this is a typical, I would say, a slide of an office network where you would have, say, different sets of users. Like, you could have some low bandwidth users, some high bandwidth users, some users in a very kind of a high density environment, like, some conference rooms or some meeting rooms where you would have a lot of Wi-Fi users. So, and then you would also have some users which would require bandwidth, which is like something like almost 100 Mbps per user. So the solution that Huawei Wi-Fi 6 would actually bring is something like, in some high bandwidth scenarios, we could provide, dual radios, access points, which would really give you that high throughput. And I'm talking about throughputs going up to almost 10 Gbps, which is almost 4 times of what we have heard, in the previous Wi-Fi 5 times. In the scenarios where there have been a lot of, I would say, like concurrent users, for example, like meeting rooms or conference rooms, over there, also we could use something like a triple radio. So again, earlier we knew that there were dual radios in an access point. Today we have triple radios. So more number of radios, but naturally means more number of access, concurrent users that can get latched onto those access points. Again, we would have a scenario where there could be a lot of interferences or obstructions, like maybe due to the geography of that particular area. So we have got access points which have got independent scanning radio, which would actually scan the air in real time and mitigate those kinds of interferences. So you could have that type of a scenario also, where you could have APs, to be, input in those kind of scenarios. So all to all put together, we have a solution for an office network where you could have different users requiring different kinds of bandwidth needs, different kinds of application access scenarios, different kinds of, as I said, some interference scenarios, where we have a solution which can actually meet all those different requirements. Okay, that's the main point that over here I want to say. The second is, today when we are building our typical office networks, you would have a scenario where users are always mobile. They are moving from one location to another, say within the same office premise, and many a times you have kinds of drop in the signals, or you really don't have that that seamless network where you could have your collaboration tools like AR or VR working seamlessly on such a mobility kind of a scenario. So today we have something called as a smart roaming, where we can do load balancing of the entire Wi-Fi, APs in the network, which can enable that you have this smart roaming on a network. So again, a very important kind of scenario where you would have users who are mobile within the same campus. So we have a solution for that. All right. Now this is another kind of a scenario where today we have something called as a smart antenna design in our Wi-Fi 6 APs, where the antennas would send the signal only in that direction where the users are requesting access for the Wi-Fi network. Consider that with a scenario of a traditional Wi-Fi 5 access point, where in a traditional Wi-Fi 5 access point, the signals are propagated, like in an omnidirectional antenna, all 360 degrees. So it's like whether there is a user requesting that access for the Wi-Fi network or not, there is still that signal propagation. But in our case, the radios are intelligent enough, or I would call it the smart antennas, where it will only focus on those areas where there is a user accessing or requesting access for that, for that access. So that's how we have designed our solution. In fact, today we talk about doing almost 16 antennas, that is 4 on 2.4 gigahertz and 12 on 5 gigahertz, which is one of the, I would say the highest in the industry today. Today we are talking about 4 elements per antenna, which actually gives you a combination of 2:48 different combinations. Again, one of the highest in the industry today. So this kind of a technology really gives you that stronger signals, where I would say it is almost like 20% higher than your conventional Wi-Fi 5 access points or the Wi-Fi infrastructure that you are using today. Okay. This again is a really interesting solution that Wi-Fi 6 could bring to the table. Is today on Wi-Fi 6, we can not only give quality of service to an application, we can even tie a user to that application access. What I mean to say is, say today, if there is a CEO of your company who is accessing, some application, we can ensure that that user, that CEO gets the highest priority of access on the wireless media, compared to another normal user who also is accessing the same application, but he gets a priority 2 or a priority 3. So what does this mean is, say tomorrow, irrespective of whether, your network is congested or, you're having troubles on your network, this high priority user will always get the first preferential access on this network. Okay, so these kinds of things, something which were simply not possible in the earlier Wi-Fi 5 technology, is now possible on Wi-Fi 6, and that is what Huawei is able to offer today when you are really building a new network. Okay, things like joint scheduling for OFDMA and multi-user, and multi-user MIMO, again something very unique. It helps you increase that throughput, and I would say on the wireless network. All right, so this next one is a really interesting solution for, like, today a lot of users would have their apprehensions of really building wireless networks because of their security concerns. So today, things like rogue AP detections or different kinds of Wi-Fi attacks that you would get, something like snooping attacks, or a PSK cracking attack, or even data thefts, can all be mitigated, in the Wi-Fi 6 network that we are building today. Okay, so these are, I would say, built-in features that are offered by Huawei when we are building this kind of a Wi-Fi network. So security is actually paramount when you are really building a wireless network, and solutions like this really gives a customer that I would say peace of mind when he is really deploying such kinds of networks. Okay, this is another interesting solution today during COVID. Some of our NBFC customers whom I speak to were asking me, what is your solution for a remote office? Where we would have, say, just 4 or 5 users, or maybe in some scenarios just 1 user. So how do you, what is your solution? The solution is quite simple over here. We have a Wi-Fi 6 access point, okay, that supports PPPoE. Okay, so in a scenario where you get, you could directly terminate your service provider link onto this access point, and then it would create a CAFAP or with a DTLS encryption tunnel right to your company headquarters, where you would have your your firewalls and the other part. So this kind of a solution makes it very easy for organizations now to think of deploying small, I would say, local offices, which is closer where the users are staying, so that they still have a kind of proper enterprise kind of a network where they can work and fulfill their business needs. So this is solution 1. Another solution is even for the home users. In fact, today most of us are actually working from home. So this, so the solution what we have is like again a Wi-Fi access point, really having a good, I would say, a good Wi-Fi coverage. Again, the Wi-Fi coverage, as I said, is boosted with the kind of antenna designs that we have. As I mentioned in the earlier slides, we could have like 2:48 different kinds of combinations, or we could even have something like a stronger beam forming, which would help you boost the signals of your Wi-Fi clients accessing our access point. And then we also use the WPA3. We use a WPA3, which is the strongest encryption today in Wi-Fi, to have a kind of a strong encryption on the on the wireless media, that is from your clients accessing the AP. And then we also use the DTLS encryption, which is the wired encryption from the EP going towards your Wi-Fi controller, or going to the head end, which is your corporate office. So solutions like this will actually help a lot of users, a lot of enterprises offer, I would say, remote work from home solutions even to their employees, and ensure that they have the right, I would say, connectivity, they have the right bandwidth, and they have the good users, also the experience of the user for accessing the network, even at home, would drastically increase, okay, using the Wi-Fi 6 solutions. Okay. So now I'll just talk a little bit about what is really Wi-Fi 6, so that for some of you who want to know what is the difference and how is it different from the earlier Wi-Fi 5 standard. So if you see this slide, it really talks about now the latest standard is the Wi-Fi Alliance has named 802.11x as Wi-Fi 6. The earlier standard was 11AC. You had the Wave 1 and the Wave 2 products, which was termed or called Wi-Fi 5, and 11N called the Wi-Fi 4. So some things what generally the questions come to me regarding this Wi-Fi 6 is, are they really clients available today, or are they laptops, or are they tablets or phones available today that will support the high bandwidth that Wi-Fi 6 offers? So if you see, in fact, in Q4 of last year, the industry has already formed a body, which would be supporting the different clients for Wi-Fi 6. So today, if you see some of the latest phones of iPhone, that is iPhone 11, Samsung S10, and you also have the NIC cards in Intel, that is AX200 chipsets that are all supporting Wi-Fi 6. So if today you have some legacy laptops or some workstations, you can still have the Wi-Fi 6 Intel chipsets that are available in the market. In fact, I was just doing a Google search some days ago. You can actually buy these cards for somewhere around almost like $38, and you can have a complete I would say, upgrade your existing legacy Wi-Fi 5 laptops or workstations to Wi-Fi 6. So these clients are all available today. Now, the beauty of Wi-Fi 6 is something where today the chairperson for the Wi-Fi 6 is a Huawei employee. His name is Osama, who is actually heading this alliance. And another thing is, today Huawei has been the maximum or the highest contributor to the Wi-Fi 6 standards. Okay, so we have got almost 15% of proposals that have been submitted by Huawei to the Wi-Fi 6 standards that are available today. All right. So what is really Wi-Fi 6 bringing to the table? One is high capacities. When I talk of high capacities, I'm talking about today we are ideally talking about 1,000 users latching on to a single access point. Okay, something like today compared to a Wi-Fi 5, we had probably around 30 or maximum 50 users that could latch on to a single access point. So we are talking about almost a 5 times increase compared to the earlier standard. Then we are talking about a exponentially high bandwidth that you could get from Wi-Fi 6. So we are talking now about, from a standard perspective, we could get something like a 9.6 Gbps, whereas Huawei can actually, with the Huawei, you can go up to 10.75 Gbps, which is again the highest in the industry today. And the last part is on latency. Today, for some of your algo trading or some of the low latency applications like VDI, you would need latencies in milliseconds. So today, as per the standard of Wi-Fi 6, you could get as low as 20 milliseconds. And if it is a Huawei Wi-Fi 6 solution, we can come down to almost 10 milliseconds, which is again the industry's lowest, in terms of latency that we could offer. Okay. So what are some of those technologies? So for bandwidth, you have the multi-user MIMO, and you have the 1024 com. So those are I would say, the key technology that would help you get that 9.6 Gbps of bandwidth. In terms of the larger capacities, you would have things like OFDMA and uplink and downlink multi-MIMO. So if you again compare it with the Wi-Fi 5, earlier in Wi-Fi 5, you could only have a good download kind of a speed. You never had a good upload. Today we are talking about both upload as well as download, much higher speeds on both the uploads as well as the downloads. And then again, regarding the lower latencies, using spatial reuse, we can have some things like 20 milliseconds, as I said, as per the standard, and using Huawei up to 10 milliseconds. And finally, there is also an interesting feature called a target wake up time, where this feature, combined with the Wi-Fi 6 access point, could help to reduce the power consumption of your terminals, something like almost like 30%. Okay. So these are the different, I would say, standards, how, you would help to increase the bandwidth. That is from when you compare it with Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6, that is, like 4 transmit, 4 receive. In Wi-Fi 5, you had 8 transmit radios and 8 receive radios in over here. So it's double the spatial streams. You had much higher subcarriers. You had a much better coding. And of course, the transmission times, increased by almost 6% with Wi-Fi 6. Again, when I talk about the capacities, why we can have such high capacities is because we are using OFDMA now compared to OFDM in the previous Wi-Fi 5 standard. So it was like an analogy. I'll put it like earlier, you could have a bus carrying just a single passenger, whereas today you have the same kind of bus which can take up to 10 passengers. So there's a better resource utilization on that channel, because of which Wi-Fi 6 gives a much better throughput than a Wi-Fi 5. And so comes to network latency. So, we have things like BSS coloring, which is almost similar to something like a 5G, where you can eliminate the interferences from, adjacent APs. So a lot of times, some of the challenges that you had in Wi-Fi 5 was if there were multiple APs in a confined area, the overlapping of the signals actually degraded the performance of the overall network. So that kinds of challenges have been addressed in Wi-Fi 6 using technologies like BSS coloring, where you could have a clean kind of a network, and each, you could have a much higher throughput eventually on that. Okay. Now I'll quickly go through. I've got another 5 minutes. I'll just go to some of the product sessions and some of the product overview that we have, and then we will break in for the panel discussion. All right. So coming to the solution that Huawei could offer for a network refresh, one is, yes, from a campus perspective, we could get in the core switches, the aggregation switches, the access switches, the PoE, non-PoE, L3, L2 combinations. We could get the entire suite of Wi-Fi access points, the controllers, indoor, outdoor. We could get the complete WAN solutions, that is your data center interconnect solution as well as your data center core routers. On the branch side, we could get in the 5G enabled SD-WAN routers that would meet all your requirements for your branch connectivity, from an MPLS to a leased line to a point-to-point connections. And then on the data center front, we could get in the spine, leaf switches, and we could also get in the orchestrator, or can solve the SDN controllers to manage this entire piece of solution. Finally, we could also, the underlying layer would be a complete suite of security products where we could offer the firewalls, IDS, and so forth. Okay. Yeah. Then we have a management tool that would tightly integrate all our pieces of solutions together. That is, we could do the management of all the network devices. We could do the authentication of the users. We could do things like SD-WAN, the LAN campus orchestration, all from a single tool. So that is our real, I would say, benefit that we could bring to the table. And all this is based on big data and AI. So you could have things like optimization of your Wi-Fi network as well as your wired network from a single console. Okay, so this is the advantage that this tool would bring to you. It's called the iMaster NCE. Different topologies supported. Also, we have the same kind of tool for your data center management also. Okay, so the entire gamut of products and solutions to meet your network refresh, right from your campus to your data center to your branch, all in all, with the SDN controllers to manage everything from a centralized place, is all what Huawei could offer. Okay, things like having the fastest controller in the industry, almost 3 times with better efficiency. And coming to the data center front, very quickly, today we have a solution which, in the Earth's while you had a separate infrastructure for your storage, a separate for your server. And so you had a SAN switch, or you had an FCOE kind of a switch to connect your storage or your servers together onto the in your data center. Today we have a solution which we call the AI Fabric, which actually works on ROCE, that is RDMA over Converged Ethernet. So what that essentially means is the same Ethernet switch, or the same Ethernet switch in your data center, you can connect your servers, your storage, and you could have a single fabric to connect all these different pieces together. What it brings is 0%, or I would say 0 packet loss, with almost 100% throughput and 10 milliseconds end-to-end latency. Something which is very unique in the industry today. And the beauty is this is all based on open standards. Okay. Just so to summarize our solution, what we have the solution for the Wi-Fi, which is our air engine. For the security, we call it the security engine, and for the data center, the cloud engine, and the net engine is for our WAN connection. So just okay, so what is the uniqueness of our campus networks? One, on the Wi-Fi 6, today our throughputs are 10.75 Gbps, which is almost double what competition is offering. We can do 0 packet loss, we can do 10 milliseconds and a 20 milliseconds better coverage compared to competition. Okay, on our port switching front, we have got 6 times higher throughputs, with almost 50,000 Wi-Fi users can get connected on our port chassis. Again, something which is much highest in the industry today. And then to complement all these solutions, we have the iMaster NC, which I already spoke about. Similarly, talking about our data center solution, we have the industry's fastest data center switch. Okay, we have the AI Fabric, the solution which I spoke to you about, having using standard-based ROC protocol. You could have a convergence of your storage and server traffic on a single unified network. And then again, we have a similar a controller to manage this entire piece together. Coming to the branch solution, we have our routers, which are all 5G ready, as well as SD-WAN ready. Okay, we have the highest performance, in fact, almost 3 times higher than the industry leader today in the routing space. And then, as I said, we have the complete SD-WAN features on all our routers. So all these solutions really, help a customer to have, I would say, an optimized network, I would say, a refresh option, what they could look at. And finally, this is a slide on our security, where we have, these clear, I would say, differentiations compared to others in the industry, like the highest firewall throughput, the best detection, threat detection, and so forth. So with that, this is my last slide where I talk about the different customers that we have. I think with this, I now give the session to Dr. Ravi, where we can start the panel discussion.
Sure. If you can stop your screen sharing, it will be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Renzil, for an extensive presentation on the Wi-Fi 6 and the campus networks. And Raman, I'm going to ask you about what is the significance of safe, secure, and fast internet connectivity in these times of COVID-19. Ramanji, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I said safe, fast, and secured internet facility is a probably basic need of the day to day. Without that, I think, as I said, it's very difficult to even think of working, and especially in current situation where, as I said, the concept of work from home and people across them need to be digitally connected. It's I think the first basic need which needs to be addressed, and I think government is aware of it, and that really needs to be addressed immediately. I think that will be the next main focus area for when we talk of the infrastructure investment. This is one area which also needs to be included as part of top priority. Certainly.
Sure. There are a few questions on the Q&A screen. May I request Raman and Renzil to have a look at it, and I will try to put questions, appropriate questions to our respective panelists actually. There are some technical questions here, and some are. Which one you want to pick up first, Renzil?
Go ahead.
The technical ones, like if you can identify that which one.
You can. Okay.
Okay. So
you can pick up anyone and just. I can
sure. So there is a question that what all do I need to consider when I plan to deploy Wi-Fi 6 in my enterprise campus?
Okay. So today, when customers are evaluating Wi-Fi 6, to deploy it in the network, I would say there would be three major areas what you would want to consider. That you have. One is your existing Wi-Fi terminals. Probably you would be using some legacy, terminals like legacy desktops or PCs or laptops, which would not have the Wi-Fi 6, I would say, cards. So one place is, you would, if you really want to really get the juice out of Wi-Fi 6, you would want to upgrade these Wi-Fi NIC cards on these terminals. As I said in my earlier slides, you already have Intel AX200 chipset, which is already there in the market today. Something as low as almost like $35, where you could upgrade your terminals. That is one. Point number two is, even if you don't want to, or rather you feel that would be an extensive upgradation process where you would have to upgrade your the NICs of all your terminals that you have, you could still get the advantage of I would say better coverage of a Wi-Fi 6 network compared to the earlier Wi-Fi 5. And two, you would also get the advantage of, I would say, a much better latency, for your application access. So these two would be the key, I would say, features that you could still leverage out of your existing Wi-Fi 5 terminals that you have, even without, if you don't want to, or rather you want to do it at a later stage, you could get these two advantages. The second part of the network, what you would want to look at is, would come to Wi-Fi 6 access points and also your controller. So I'm sure, like today, you cannot say that you can have vendor A for Wi-Fi 6 APs and vendor B for the controller. It has to be a common vendor for both these access points as well as the controller. Having said that, if you already have, say, the Huawei access controllers. Even if you are with the existing Wi-Fi 5 APs, the same controllers also will support the Wi-Fi 6 access points. That is not really going to be a challenge. That's the second point. And the third part is on your switching infrastructure. So today, as I spoke about Wi-Fi 6 APs, they have the capacities to touch almost 10.75 Gbps on a single access point. So having said that, yes, if you would want to leverage that kind of bandwidth that you have, you would need to have a backend infrastructure on switching to take advantage of that high capacities. So today in the market, you have multi-gig switches. Huawei is also, having a lot of options for multi-gig switches. So today you could have in the access a kind of mix and match. Like for example, you could have a stack of 1G switches where your 1G users or 1G desktops could be connected. You could have a stack of multi-gig switches where your Wi-Fi 6 APs, the higher throughput APs could connect. And then you could also have in the access, like certain of my users also have a 10G access. So you could have that kind of combination. So yes, coming to a switching infrastructure standpoint also, if you really want to leverage that high capacities or high bandwidths that Wi-Fi 6 would give you, you would need to consider the multi-gig switches, especially if you are having, Wi-Fi 6 APs, which would support either 5 gig or 10 gig kinds of a throughput. Yeah.
Raman, I want to ask you that you have seen lots of MNCs who have been working and using ICT. What are the most common challenges of NBFCs using ICT? Your perspective, Raman. You are on mute.
Without going into much of the technical details, which I would avoid, my simple issue has been, and that's one thing which we need to look at, and I think I would request Renzil also to look at.
I think
There's a buffering issue.
yes.
Whenever we talk, absolutely no question when it comes to adopting the technology in the context of my overall size and my operations. So what happens is, because a lot of times, especially if we are talking of the NBFC sector, in terms of numbers, if you look at a very large number of companies are very small and medium-sized companies. Now, for them, making investments, fine, as long as we can really justify the actual output in terms of what benefits they gain. So many times it happens is that to expect making them some heavy investments, and that too capital kind of investments, becomes a challenge. So maybe in that case, some kind of a model where you talk of what we crudely call as pay and use kind of a scenario, instead of making a one-time capital investment and expect them to buy everything, buy licenses, etc. If we can create an atmosphere and an environment where it's a pay and use model, but of course ensuring that all the data secrecy and privacy issues are kept in place. So I think that is one major crux of the challenge which often we face in the NBFC sector when it comes to adoption of any technology.
Sure. Good point, Raman. I'm asking another question to Renzil, which has been asked here in the Q&A, that will my existing Wi-Fi 5 terminals work with the new Wi-Fi 6 APs? What will be the limitations and advantages?
Yeah. So in fact, I partially answered that question in my earlier one also.
Yes.
So as I said, yes, your Wi-Fi 5 terminals will work even with the new Wi-Fi 6 APs. You might not get the complete bandwidth. I spoke about bandwidth going up to 10.75 Gbps and so forth, with the Wi-Fi 6 infra. But yes, you would not get that one, high bandwidth advantage. But certainly, you could get the advantage where you could use, the other advantages like lower latency for your application access. Okay, you would now able to use, say, things like your VDI application, or your, you could use some kind of a collaborative audio video kind of a sharing on your Wi-Fi 6 infrastructure, even with your existing Wi-Fi 5 terminals. And second, you would have a much better coverage for those Wi-Fi users. Like, we say that there are third-party reports that show that there is at least a 20% better coverage than the legacy Wi-Fi 5. So these would be some of the advantages that you could still get using your existing Wi-Fi 5 terminals.
Sure. There is a question around like what is the unique value proposition of Huawei, and also there is a question about warranty. So if you can answer that also, Renzil.
Okay. So probably I'll make the second question first on terms of warranty. Today, probably we offer one of the best warranties also that are there in the industry today. Like, for example, we give something like a limited lifetime warranty, which is 5 years on in fact, all my Wi-Fi APs, and even my access switches, which are, the L2 access switches, that there's a default 5 years warranty on that. Of course, you could also have a top up if you want something like a 24/7 or a NBD or anything like that. But the default is 5 years on most of my, I would say, access and the Wi-Fi products. So that's answering your second question. And coming to your first question, like what is, why would you, or why would an NBFC want to consider Huawei? So I would say there would be multiple reasons for that. Okay, first is, as I said, our Wi-Fi 6 is today a technology which you could actually help you build a network, which would be 100% wireless. You don't need to, really invest in the cable or in the Cat 6 or the Cat 5 cabling. So you can really have the agility to build a kind of a branch office or set up a new office in a lightning speed. That's point number one. Second is, even if tomorrow you need to move out, or you need to relocate, having a wireless office makes it very convenient to do that. So having said that, today Huawei has got the highest market share in Wi-Fi 6 deployments globally. In fact, the numbers what I know over my head is we have got over 1 lakh, almost 40,000 Wi-Fi 6 access points deployed globally till this point of time. So that's the first thing, that we really have a very good deployment, and we really have the good skill knowledge about Wi-Fi 6 deployments. The second point what I would say is, today Huawei is a vendor who could offer you a complete end-to-end solution. Right from your switching needs, to your routing needs, to your security needs, to your to the data center requirements. We have it all in all. And the beauty is, all these products are grounds up from Huawei. They have not been any kind of acquisitions like some of my competitors are there in the industry. These are all been Huawei products from grounds up. That what I would say would be the second key benefit for a customer. The third is, I would say, today we have a lot of very good references even in India in our BFSI and also the NBFC customers. So I would be more than glad to share these references with anyone, maybe post this call, or if you'll send me an email, I could share you those details. Last, or I would say another point is, today Huawei also has got a professional services team. In fact, we have it in every geography of across the country, where Huawei professional services engineers can actually plan, design, implement, and deploy our entire solution on behalf of the customer. I understand, today, maybe one area where we are still improving is on our partner ecosystem having the right skill set. But to complement that, today, Huawei has got a professional services team where we can do this one time, I would say, the complete design deployment for the customer. That's another strength that we have. And I would say the last, but not the least, is today, we are the only, I would say, non-American company who have a complete end-to-end offering. Like today, and how that would help is today, if there is any kind of a supply chain issue, we are not really affected by that. So that I would say all these things put together would really make us something unique value that we could offer, to our customer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Renzil, for all these interesting and elaborate answers. Ramanji, I will ask you, I have a question for you that you have been in this industry for a long time, and how you see the adoption of ICT in NBFCs over the last decade, and how are you seeing the next 5 years?
I think I partially answered it previously.
Yes.
When it comes to adoption, there has never been an issue. And as I said, if you are comparing when it comes to technology, anything looked at in the context of future today will always look small, because technology gets obsolete by the hour. So and as things develop, so what I'm using today might become obsolete tomorrow. So obviously, if you have to compare anything in the past with the future has a lot of scope, tremendous scope, as I said. And as we get, as I said, basic thing is the requirement is a stable and a fast, reliable internet connection, whether it's a 5G if we are talking of now, and Wi-Fi 6 technology, which is talked about. So as I said, other things put right in terms of the pricing and the usability, I don't see any reason why this technology should not see a boom and a far greater acceptance within the NBFC space. Why not?
Fantastic. So, Renzil, there is another question from Prabhakar, and he has asked that how to build up bandwidth so that maximum employees can access servers. It is on the top. This is the first question.
Okay. So I'll put it in two ways. One is, today inherently, Wi-Fi 6, access point is like almost 4 times higher in terms of bandwidth capacity compared to a Wi-Fi 5 terminal. That is point number one. Okay. So having said that, as I said, today you could have a single Wi-Fi 6, a high-end or a mid-level Wi-Fi 6 AP that can support even bandwidths up to 10.75 Gbps, which is, I would say, the highest in the industry today. Second is in terms of maximum employees accessing the servers. I would assume this is from a context of employees accessing the servers from the office environment. Okay, so in that context also, since Wi-Fi 6 also brings the benefit of having a longer, or I would say a much better coverage. So you could have in now, because of the multi-MIMO and because of the advancements in like the smart antennas and technologies like that, you could have a much higher concurrency ratio of users latching on to to the Wi-Fi 6 infrastructure. And again, in scenarios where I mentioned earlier, in a high density scenario where you have multiple users or accessing the Wi-Fi APs over there, we could have solutions where I could even use kind of a radio, a software-defined radio of my APs to scan the environment. For example, if there are some kind of interferences from a AP which is on the same frequency like the one that we have configured ours, or there is a rogue AP, it could mitigate those kinds of issues. So all these things put together would actually effectively increase the overall throughput or overall bandwidth that a user would get to access the network. Having said that, today Wi-Fi 6 can actually deliver 100 Mbps. I would say guaranteed throughput per user compared to the best effort, which was something like a 2 Mbps or a 4 Mbps in a Wi-Fi 5 network. Yeah.
And in the beginning, there was a discussion by Raman. Raman Agrawal, he mentioned about the issue of work from home.
Right,
And
right.
there is a question asked by Saurabh here, and he has asked that what are some work from home solutions from Huawei, for
Okay.
example, VPN, etc., that can help with latency-prone home networks.
Okay, so let me just pull up that slide. Probably Saurabh, I believe, would have logged in late. I'll just put up my slide again. So I'll just show you that slide. So we do have solutions for work from home users also, with our Wi-Fi 6 option. Let me just pull up that slide. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is one of the solutions. So what I spoke is that today in a typical scenario for a home, we would have our current, say, a Wi-Fi modem or a gateway, and probably that is kept in a room, where the signals would not be strong enough to penetrate the walls within our rooms and be accessible from everywhere. So that is one. So today what I'm saying is, for in those kinds of scenarios, we have a Wi-Fi 6 AP, where you can straight away replace your existing home modem, with this Wi-Fi 6 access point. So it supports PPPoE, and those authentication methods where you can directly terminate your ISP link. That is point number one. Second, I mentioned to you about the smart antennas, and all the features of our Wi-Fi 6 AP, where today, even if it is something like a home with an area of less than 100 square meters, there could be sufficient Wi-Fi, I would say, signal coverage in all your rooms. So you really don't have that kind of coverage issue to access your internet or your gateway from any place within that where you are accessing. The third is, because of these features like WPA3 and the DTLS based hardware encryption, we can ensure that you have a secured pipe right from your home connection to your, say, your VPN gateway, which is in your corporate office, where you would be accessing your applications. So again, it's like a secured connectivity. So in other words, we are actually, I would say, extending your access from your office now to your home, and giving you the same kind of enterprise class access features with all the security mechanisms that you would get at your home. So really working from home is now possible with these solutions that we have got. Coming to your point of network latency, yes, I would say that is a matter which would be needed to be handled by the service provider, because that is actually a medium over the internet where, we all are currently, would be having a issue because of that. So having said that, if you have a decent ISP link to or, for your home connection, getting you that infrastructure at your home to work seamlessly as though you are working in your own office is not really a challenge with the current solution that we have. So I hope that answers the
Sure.
question.
Sure. There is if you can stop your screen sharing,
Yeah.
there is a question on the chat, and which is relating to the home network itself, that how would user connect from home without ISP? This is a question by Gurmeet Singh.
Okay. Is my screen closed?
Yes,
Already?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
You want to switch on it? You can.
No, that's okay. It's okay. Can you
Okay.
just repeat it, please? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like open the chat option on your screen,
Okay.
and
Okay.
there is a
Okay.
question there by Gurmeet Singh, and he's asking how would user connect from home without ISP?
Oh, my friend. I wish I could have an answer for that. I would be the first one to do that. So unfortunately, today you need to have an ISP, or the other option is you need to use your phone and your your SIM based 4G or connection to dial out. You need to have a medium. So an
Yeah.
ISP is required.
Yes, yes. So, Raman, I want to ask you that what are the challenges you foresee in working from home in the BFSI sector?
Actually, of course, challenges, because everything has its own limitations and advantages. While yes, it is meets the need of the social distancing, etc., is taken care of. But obviously, there are challenges, because
Mm,
especially I have always said this when it comes to this kind of retail lending which NBFCs do, and
mm,
to the kind of customer borrower segment we cater to, a very important element of this whole exercise is a personal humane touch,
mm,
and that has a very very important role to play in bringing comfort, because see, this relationship has to go beyond a mere lender borrower relationship, and
mm,
that has been the success story of NBFCs, because we don't maintain only a lender borrower relationship. It is much beyond that, understanding his needs, his difficulties, and trying to help him in the need of the hour. So all those things are certainly not possible only in the context of work from home, and they do need some kind of a face-to-face interaction. So yes, there are ways and means challenge. So I have always said it, people often argue and question that technology is going to replace. I think the word should never be replace, but the word better is enable or facilitate or make it better perhaps. So I think that is where the whole thing fits in. And even this concept of work from home is going to be an enabler, a facilitator to help overcome such like situations. And of course, it has other advantages in terms of providing employment opportunities to, women folk who have to take care of small kids at home or elderlies at home, people from far-flung areas who could work from home, cannot travel. So all those benefits, but yes, there are challenges. I think what we need to find is a judicial mix of the two, and going ahead, I think that will very much system, and it will automatically take care of that. So let's see that.
sure. Um, some of the audience are asking for email IDs of both the panelists. So, may I
Okay.
request both of you to write it on the chat so that our audience can connect with you,
Okay.
Raman and
Yeah, we'll do that.
Jim.
I'll
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. And there's a additional another query which I have received, that security, like what is the Renzil, if you can
Yeah.
talk about the security issues in your deployment, yeah, yeah, because for NBFCs security is a very very important.
Correct. 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 So I would put security in two parts. One is what all are the security mechanisms that we have got on our products and solutions, and second is what are the third party security certifications that we have. Yeah, so today, in fact, we have a lot of third-party security certifications like PCI DSS compliance, and the other, I would say, EL certifications that we already have or we are continuously doing for our products. From a technology perspective, if you talk about security, as I said, we have got things like WPA3, we have got the DTLS-based encryption. We have a lot of other, I would say, security technology that we built into our overall product offering as such. So, and again, the beauty is a lot of our products are already being deployed, in fact, in some of the largest banks in the country today. Okay, like give you an example, like today, State Bank of India has already deployed over almost 29,000 of our switches in their network. I'm sure a lot of NBFCs would have customers who have not interacted with us earlier would have this kind of questions. But rest be assured that we have taken all that into considerations, and we are already working in similar setups, in the country today already. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Renzil, for highlighting this.
Yeah.
And Ramanji, how is the NBFC sector evolving? How is the NBFC sector evolved in the last 10 years, and how do you see over the next decade NBFCs evolving? How are they going in the rural areas, and how are they using new ways of connecting with the customers using IT? If you can talk about that.
Yeah, so see, as I said, the sector has undergone tremendous changes, a lot of innovations when it comes to the business model, which is primarily lending. And we often say we've grown, we are known to be catering to the unbanked or the underbanked segments in the rural and semi-urban, even in the urban areas of the country. So, of course, the one change is in this model. And yes, the second change is, of course, all this has been possible with the better use of technology. As I said, things like, credit appraisals, because one aspect is you depend on the traditional modes of going through the bureau records and track records, etc. But now technology is being greatly put to use, and we have the alternate credit scoring models where you use, you track the borrower's social media posts, his payment of utility bills, etc., which are built into develop some kind of a credit scoring model for the borrower. Then you have things like, intangible asset-backed lending. Earlier, we are used to the traditional asset-backed lending, like funding for vehicles, auto loans, or equipment loans, or consumer goods. Versus now, we have the concept of lending against receivables or lending against, the IPR. So all these things are also possible based on technology. Then, of course, the recovery and collection mechanisms, they have improved with the use of technology, the kind of analytical tools available with the use of artificial intelligence, a lot of analytical tools which are available at our disposal to, analyze customer behavior in particular geographies, in particular product segments, in particular, I would say, professional class or working class. So all that are being, put to very, very big use now. And going ahead, as I see, this is going to go and increase day by day. And, we now, of course, we have this entire gamut of what we call them, quote unquote, online lenders, who are some of them, with that include the P2P lenders, or we now have the account aggregator models coming in. So all that changes are happening within the sector and will continue to go. And I think this will happen at a more greater pace as we move ahead.
So, may I request Renzil for your closing remarks? Yeah. Do you have any message for our audience? Any inputs?
Yeah. So thank you, all of you who have joined in. Thanks for your time. What I would also like to add is, if any one of you all have some specific requirements or are considering a network refresh, do give us or get in touch with us. There are a lot more solutions. In fact, because of the time being a constraint, I could not actually go into details of each and every technology aspect and what all additional more we could do. But having said that, today we are already working with a lot of NBFCs. We already know what kind of challenges and what kind of issues are there when it comes to network refresh, and we really have I would say a very cost-effective solutions to address those requirements. So do let us know. We are also open for a proof of concept or even a remote POC in these times where it is difficult to have a face-to-face interaction. We have our labs, back, globally everywhere, where users can log into our remote labs and actually see our solutions working. So I would say, do let us know if there are such kinds of requirements, and even if you are looking for a solution for work from home, as I mentioned to you about, what in my slides, you'll be more than happy to discuss that also with you. So thanks a lot.
Great presentation, Renzil. I think very, very informative. Thank you so much. And Ramanji, I would request you to give your closing remarks on the overall technological dimensions in the NBFC sector.
No, I think thank you, Mr. Ravi, and I think thank you, Renzil. I think as you put it right, while technology is always something which everybody is on the lookout now, but more so in the current situation where which has sudden brought abrupt disruption. I think to get to know more and more about the technology and how better we can leverage it to not only ensure running of the existing businesses, but maybe even improve upon it. I think the timing was right and perfect. So let's hope we are able to utilize it for the betterment of both our businesses and our customers. Thank you.
I want to thank all this, both our speakers and also all the audience. And we at Elets Technomedia have been bringing out a magazine called Banking and Finance Post for last 7 years. We have been running a online portal called bfsi.eletsonline.com, and you can see a lot of technology and regulatory stuff regarding the banking and the finance sector, both for the NBFCs and the mainstream banking sector. And also we are on social media: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. This presentation is live on Facebook, and I request all the audience, if you have liked this uh, presentation here, and if you think it can help someone you know in the NBFC sector or any other sector, please share it with them. Uh, and let's spread the ideas and innovations which can happen through ICTs. And thank you again, Renzil, for excellent presentation. Ramanji, thanks for bringing in the knowledge of the NBFC sector to this panel here. With this, we will close here, and thank you, and start earlier.
Thank you.
My pleasure, Ravi. Thank you.